Hi, I'm Tyrrell of Uncommon Knowledge, and welcome to How to Use Hypnosis for Physical Healing, the strange capabilities of the unconscious mind and how to use them to help your clients. Now, in his psychotherapy practice, my father once used a story to cure a client of warts, and we used the same story in our wart treatment online hypnosis audio session to help a boy cure his terrible warts, which have been all over his hands. So how is this possible? How can the soothing power of words alone not only ease physical pain to the point that it may no longer be felt at all, but seem to cure, or at least enhance the recovery from, physical conditions like warts? Now, the role of hypnosis in reducing inflammation, and remember, inflammation drives so many diseases and also accelerate healing after surgery, has been widely researched. And often this research is presented as examining the role hypnosis plays in empowering the mind-body system of healing. And yet, the divide between body and mind is in some ways an artificial separation. The mind and body are not so much connected as blended together. Whether the mind, or I should say consciousness, can transcend the limitations of the body or time and space is maybe a video for another day. But I prefer to think of consciousness as residing in all parts of you, not just in your head, but every part of you. Anyway, certainly what your mind is doing has immediate and sometimes long-term effects on the physical reality of your body. Long-term emotional stress, for example, as accompanies depression, can start to shrink the hippocampus, the part of the brain that is responsible for learning and the laying down of new memories. So simply worrying, which causes stress, which then causes a physical structural change in the brain. So, and simply recalling a time when you were really angry can drop the pumping efficiency of the heart by 5% if you have heart disease. So every thought and feeling you have will influence your body, and what your body is doing will, of course, have an effect on your mind and your emotions. Hypnosis seems to be a fast-track way of multiplying that effect. For example, a 2007 study found that women who were hypnotized before undergoing a breast biopsy or lumpectomy required less sedation during the procedure and experienced less pain, nausea, and emotional distress afterwards. Now, we know that simple relaxation is good for immunity and also the well-being of the mind. But it doesn't just seem to be the beneficial effects of the relaxation itself that accompanies hypnosis, which produces the healing in the body, but rather the hypnotic imagery and suggestion itself that kind of works the magic. At Washington State University, researchers conducted a study where volunteers received hypnotic suggestions aimed at strengthening their immune systems. Others were given only relaxation suggestions or no suggestions at all. So there were 3 lots of groups that the scientists were studying. And the scientists studied their T cells and B cell levels, which are key players in the body's defense system. Now, the results showed a notable increase in those protective cells amongst those who'd undergone hypnosis as opposed to those who'd just undergone relaxation training. So it seems that there's plenty of evidence that the mind-body connection and its role in influencing health is a tangible process that can be observed and measured and influenced through the art and science of hypnosis, above and beyond simple relaxation training. So that's an important distinction to make. But before we get carried away, I really want to make an important caveat. I really want to make something clear. Now, although lots of evidence seems to support the role of hypnosis in not just ameliorating physical pain and enhancing immunity, but in facilitating well-being in people going through cancer, I don't want to start making claims that hypnosis can cure cancer. Okay, we don't want to start sort of claiming that. And why do I say that? Because cancer, like many diseases, can sometimes spontaneously reverse. Okay, its progression can slow or even completely recede. Or other treatments such as immunotherapy or surgery or chemotherapy may be the decisive factor in its remission or cure. And if I'm doing hypnotherapy at the same time as that, then it might be coincidental that the cancer's gone away. So if the patient was having hypnotic treatment alongside that other medical treatment, it would be disingenuous at best to try to claim that hypnosis had cured the cancer. So I think that's a dangerous claim, and we can't guarantee anything and we can't make promises. I treated one woman for many years, and she had cancer in her breast, lungs, pancreas and brain. And at her request, we used hypnosis to battle the cancer. And she told me her doctors described her as a medical marvel, as she outlived by many years their predictions of what was meant to be possible for someone with her extensive cancer. But I still can't put this down to the influence of hypnosis, as we don't know. She was having multiple other treatments as well. So certainly the mental well-being she received from my hypnotic help seemed to benefit her a lot, but I didn't cure her and can't claim that I did. The hypnosis may have had an effect in causing regular cancer remissions, but we just don't know that. So I offer these tips not suggesting we can guarantee the cure for anything, or that we tell patients to abandon all conventional interventions for any disease or illness they might have. That would be very irresponsible, but simply as an exploration for an adjunct treatment, an adventure in what might be possible for your client as regards their mind-body blend and the way the mind can influence the body. So number one, open the door of possibility for your client. Now, as I just said, you shouldn't promise your client you'll cure them with hypnosis. But at the same time, we know how powerful the placebo response is. The placebo response is basically expectation focused. So expectation is powerful. Expectation can have a powerful influence on outcome. We can prime our clients with truisms as to how the mind can influence the body, and even allude to research on hypnosis and healing. You don't know for sure you can cure someone's warts or help shrink a tumor, but you can suggest to a client more generally that we don't know just what is possible, that research shows how hypnosis can greatly benefit the workings of the body, and that we'll work together with an openness to that possibility. So you're inviting them on an adventure, really. What can we do here? To what extent can your mind influence your body? A positive orientation and openness is a great place to start. Most of this can be done before formal hypnotic induction. But what about once you've induced hypnosis? So 2, use storytelling and metaphor to enhance immunity and redirect blood flow and healing. As you know, the immune system is highly responsive to psychological and emotional states. Chronic stress and negative emotions can suppress immune function by increasing stress-related hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Using self-hypnosis has been shown to counteract these effects and enhance immune activity by increasing white blood cell activity. Storytelling seems a strange way to affect immunity on the surface, And yet even saying on the surface is a use of metaphor. To use another metaphor, human beings live and breathe in metaphor. We almost can't avoid it. As one UK sports broadcaster once famously said, apparently in all seriousness, in my day, we didn't use metaphors. We didn't beat around the bush. Now, the woman I mentioned who lived many years longer than medically predicted, with much less pain, I have to say, would enjoy me telling tales while she was in deep, relaxed hypnosis. Stories of multitudes of white knights seeking out rogue armies to destroy them. As you know, killer T cells, also called cytotoxic lymphocytes or CD8 plus T cells, and I won't be asking questions later, are a type of white blood cell that directly destroy infected or cancerous cells, making these white cells essential to the body's immune defense. White blood cells. So it's no great stretch to tell stories of trillions of white knights vanquishing evil invaders to clear the kingdom and so on. We can also use storytelling or suggest blood flow changes in the body through metaphor. If we put it in simple terms, perhaps some of the mechanisms of mind-body healing using hypnosis is predicated upon the mind influencing the blood flow, which then creates corresponding changes in the body. For example, the story my father used, and I've used with clients as well, and we use it in the Cure Wart download on the hypnosisdownloads.com site, tells a story of a princess and a wise woman. And I'll quickly tell you the story so that maybe you could use it at some point in the future. So once upon a time, in a kingdom of rolling hills and golden rivers, there ruled a wise and noble king. He had but one daughter, a princess as kind as she was fair. But when the old king suddenly passed away, the young princess found herself alone upon the throne, uncertain of how to govern. From across the border, sensing this change in governance, a cunning ruler saw her inexperience and sent forth his armies to seize her lands. Like a flood, the invaders now poured into her territory, taking village after village, ever pressing toward the palace itself. The young queen, though brave, didn't know how to stop them. In her despair, she remembered the sage, an ancient woman her father had always sought in times of great peril. So she climbed the highest mountain, where the wind howled and the air was thin, and found the old sage seated upon a stone. And she told her of the invaders, of their relentless march, of her helplessness. And the old woman listened, and then gazed into her eyes and said, "These invaders need feeding, do they not? They require food, water, and weapons. But tell me, how do they receive these things? Look not to the army, look to the supply of the army." At once the queen understood. She raced back to her kingdom and commanded her, or queendom I should say, and commanded her soldiers to block the rivers and block up the canals that fed the enemy's supply lines via their barges and boats. The lifeblood of the invaders, food, drink, and reinforcements and weapons, was suddenly cut off. And within days, their strength withered. Thirst and hunger gnawed at them, and soon they scattered like leaves in the wind, vanishing from her lands. So it is with warts, those unwelcome invaders of the skin, or even tumours. They too must be fed by blood. And just as a queen can cut off the lifeline of an enemy army, so can the mind, through the power of hypnosis, command the blood to retreat, starving the wart until it withers away and falls into oblivion. Of course, you can use variations of that story or produce entirely new and different ones. The trick is to look at the pattern of the illness and disease. How might this pattern be transposed into a metaphor or a story during hypnosis. And of course, we can also make more direct suggestions for healing during a trance. So strategy 3 would be use more direct hypnotic suggestions. So I love the use of metaphor because on a subtle level, listening to stories is hypnotic in itself, especially when the story is delivered well with creative use of language and an appeal to all the senses of the client. But as well as, or for the more literal-minded client, perhaps even instead of using metaphor and story to heal, we can sometimes be more direct in our suggestions. We might have them visualize the warts withering away by suggesting a healing force of warmth flowing through the body from a great universal source of health, like dipping into a timeless pool of healing. Or we might present the healing force as a color and have them visualize that healing force color circulating around their body and powering up when it meets what it needs to work on most. Sometimes I'll talk of healing as a feeling they can notice throughout the day when they're not even thinking about it. And that healing will be happening even when they're not aware of it, such as when they sleep deeply at night. It might be a warmth in the hands or some other indication that the healing is happening. We might use what hypnotherapists call pseudo-orientation in time and have the client time travel, hypnotically obviously, to a future in which they're recovering and they're already healed. Now you'll notice that even though these approaches are more direct than the storytelling and the more oblique use of metaphor in tip number 2, they still require creative use of language and a kind of visceral use of your client's imagination. So it's over to you. Maybe you already use these approaches or others that I'm not even aware of or I haven't mentioned. But if not, then there's no harm in introducing them into your practice, as long as you don't suggest your client stop all other treatment, because of course that could be very risky. But it's important to understand that words influence the mind, and the mind cannot help but influence the body. So to summarize what I've been going on about here, firstly, we can help our clients heal by suggesting they can heal, alluding to the immense power and unknowable potential of the human mind and body, therefore opening the door of possibility. Next, we can use storytelling and metaphor in or even outside of hypnosis to enhance immunity and alter blood flow in the body. And thirdly, we can use more direct suggestions for healing. Now, Dr. Milton Erickson said, "It is really amazing what people can do, only they don't know what they can do." And that's true. And of course, you and I are people too. The effect you can have on your body might be immense. It might be truly amazing what you can do for yourself and for other people. Anyway, I hope you found that useful, and if you did, please hit like and subscribe. And if you want to hear when my next video is published, hit the notification bell below this video. I'm Tyrrell of Uncommon Knowledge, and if you'd like to subscribe to my email newsletter, you can find it at unk.com/blog. That's unk.com/blog. And thanks for watching.